I'm Ed Massey of Massey Yacht Sales and Service. Myself and Jose Torres, also with Massey Yacht Sales, have put together a series of videos that takes you through all the steps involved in the commissioning and custom outfitting of a new Catalina 445. These videos start with the new Catalina 445 arriving at Sneed Island Boat Works in Palmetto, Florida. The series of videos will end with the 5 days of Massey owner orientation at Regatta Point Marina, also in Palmetto, Florida. We hope you will find this series of videos educational and enlightening. These videos will be posted on the Massey YouTube channel and the Massey website. If you find these videos of interest and would like to view additional Massey videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to contact me directly at 941-725-2350 or at edwardm@masseyyacht.com.
Hi Ed, so we're ready for our walkthrough of the outside of this beautiful boat.
Catalina introduced the 5 Series with the Catalina 445, this model, as a 2010 model year yacht. And that really was a defining moment for Catalina. Catalinas were always a good boat, very well regarded, stoutly built. Catalina 5 Series took Catalina to a new level. And that is, again, defined or redefined Catalina, kind of moved them into the better, best category of boat building. A production boat, to the extent that you only have one interior design on each boat and one hull design, but otherwise it's all handwork, kind of old technology and new technology blended together to create boats that will last for years and years and years. We're really proud to be a Catalina dealer for the 45 years that we've been in business. So a quick little recap of some of the features and benefits on this Catalina. I always want to remind people there's a collision bulkhead right here, and that collision bulkhead is watertight. And at the very bottom of the anchor locker, of course you can see we've put 3 fenders in here just for stowage, but at the bottom is a strike zone which is filled with a hard foam about the hardness of mahogany. So if you hit an object, a floating object, and tore a big chunk of the bow out of the boat or below the water line, no water gets into the boat and the boat is still safe. I don't know of another builder in this kind of price category that even gets close to that kind of focus on safety at sea. All the boats are beautiful at the dock, but you know, someday we're going to go out and sail, and when we do, we want to know that the boat's safe and built for blue water sailing. So with that in mind, let's kind of start moving aft a little bit. You'll notice what we've done is we have canvas covers for all the hatches, and with the insect screens and shades down below, that'll keep the heat out of the boat if you're in a hot climate. We're in Florida, so Florida is known to be a little bit toasty at times, almost all the time. And this boat down below is very comfortable because of that, and the great air conditioning system that Catalina uses. As we move aft a little bit, this is a custom installation of 4-spar whisker pole, and this is carbon and aluminum combination. And you'll notice Ted Wyrack installed this track when we were putting the boat together at Sneed Island Boat Works, and this is the ideal spot for it. On a passage, we take the dinghy, bring it forward, turn it upside down, and then kind of scoot it back to where we can tie off the stern of the dinghy through these holes right here, so it becomes very secure. And then if you'll notice on the side of the cabins, we've got pad eyes on each side of the cabin. We can then secure the forward portion of the dinghy with those pad eyes and just some small stuff line. A simple but effective way to go on a passage where you're going to take some blue water, green water, you know, you're going to have spray on the boat, and it's not safe to do that kind of sailing with the dinghy on the davit. So on a passage, this is where the dinghy will live, and we're set up for it. And of course, we hoist that dinghy with the spinnaker halyard, which is forward right now. We'll move that back as we progress with the owner's orientation. Of course, we'll put that back here so it doesn't foul the furling system or the head sail. Another thing I want to point out on all Catalinas, because on the 5 Series, Catalina uses a Selden system, and right here is the serial number for this mast and all the appurtenances that are installed on the mast. So if you have a problem, an issue, or a question, you call Selden, you give them that serial number, and they can tell you everything that they installed on this mast. They've already got all the links on the standing rigging, but you know, if you say you lost part of your gooseneck, they can, with that serial number, they can tell you exactly which gooseneck, where it goes, how it's installed. just a whole lot of information, and that we love that because, you know, it's down the road that you really find out how dedicated a builder and a dealer is to taking care of their customers. And that's just another example of how we try to take care of our customers, as does Selden and Catalina. As we continue to move aft a little bit, I want you to see this is a Viking Rescue Pro 6-person life raft. So the challenge here in installing it, and there was a challenge, is this deck has quite a bit of crown or camber to it. So it's not like this, it's actually like this. And to put this in a safe place, an easy place to launch the life raft if the need arises, we had to come up with a system where we had a stainless steel part and then lots of starboard's impervious to any degradation from water or sun or wind, and build this support very carefully. And we moved this around enough times that we found the spot where none of the main sheet is going to foul the container for the Viking life raft. So this was quite an elaborate setup. It looks pretty simple now, but figuring it out wasn't so simple, and I have to say Ted Wyrack did the final design on it and put it together, even to the point, if you'll notice, the main sheet has to go through that fairing block. So he perfectly positioned the hole, and then he routed the edges so there's no sharp edges to degrade the main sheet. Ted Wyrack is going to start the owner's orientation today with the owners and those schematic sheets that I showed you earlier, and he's going to take the owners through all of his installations and wire runs. A lot of wire on this boat, and it's important to know where they are. Then the owner is going to have CAD drawings created from the rough sketches that we do, or the markings we put on those schematics that we have down below. So moving aft a bit further, I'll step off of the cabin top here. I want you to notice right here, I've opened up the center panel of the Dodger, and this material is polycarbonate material. It's a hard material, and if you'll notice, there's no distortion in the radius. Typically, if you have isinglass, as good as it is, you'll see wrinkles and distortion in the radiuses. You don't get that with polycarbonate. Also, Steve Lippincott, in building this, you'll notice has cutouts for all the lines that do a pretty good job of matching where the lines come through, so that when you take water on the boat, you're not getting a big gush of water back in the cockpit. So if we move aft, I want to just point out, on our Dodgers, we kind of have what we call the Massey Lippincott quintessential Southern canvas package. I know that's a lot of words, but it really describes what this is. And part of what we do is use this 1 1/4 inch tubing on all the frames, and then we have a handhold, the length of the Dodger, a handhold behind the Dodger, because this is important, a handhold with the stern rail, because you notice it's 1 inch stainless steel tubing. As we go into the boat, into the cockpit, you notice there's a handhold here in the cockpit table, and a handhold right here in the cockpit, and then a handhold on the back side of the aft of the Dodger. Just about anywhere your hand would go intuitively as you're moving around this part of the boat, there's a handhold, a stainless steel handhold. Again, safety at sea is a big concern at Catalina and in our dealership as well. You'll notice that there's a lot of rope clutches on the boat. Everything, all the lines are let aft, and we go ahead and make our own labels, and we make them large enough, the letters large enough that it's easy to read. By the way, you'll notice there's a nice breeze can come through this opening right here. The center panel is when we pull it back, and really it's pretty simple. We just use this nylon webbing, pull it straight back with these D-rings, and easy peasy. Great sight lines. I mean, you can see everything from here. This is the electric sail handling winch, which handles all of these lines, but then over here, you just take, if you want to use the winch, you just take a turn around this for a fairing and come right to the electric winch. So actually, all of these sheet stoppers can be controlled with this electric winch. And then if we move aft a little bit, you'll notice that when we stepped onto the boat, we don't have to duck down. That's because we have the Massey Lippincott T-top. We're kind of happy with this. So there's two positions. You'll notice there's zippers. If you look underneath, there's zippers, 2 sets of zippers. And the first set of zippers opens up the side of the cockpit, so it's very easy to enter the boat. If we go one more set, we're going to end up with the entire T-top only being this wide. So you never remove the connecting canvas. You just simply roll it up, you zip it so it stays in place, and then when it's time to put it back on, it takes about less than a minute with no strain at all. You're not fighting with anything to try to get the zippers going. You'll notice this boat has the Catalina, again, cockpit table, beautifully done. I mean, it's just gorgeous. These are Catalina cockpit cushions, and they even go to the trouble of having the cushions cut here so you don't have to remove the other portions of the cushions when you want to get into locker. This is a gull wing locker, big locker lid, as you can see. Makes it really easy.
So this works both as your escape hatch and your access
The
for
access into
storage.
that port side stateroom. Over here, we have a hatch, an escape hatch for the starboard stateroom. And actually, if you remove this, it'll stay up. And you can open up that hatch for a breeze. If you're in an area where it's a nice breeze at night, put down the anchor, open up the hatches, and it's very, very comfortable and cool in the boat. We always use, on our boat, when we order them, and this owner wanted this as well, we always have a 12-inch GPS MFD at both helm stations. Again, with a bit of an angle, you notice this is an angle. The sight lines here are very easy to see, and with 12-inch screens, monitors, you can see everything. Similarly, we put the autopilot head up here, control head, so it's right at your touch, and we put the control head on the starboard side because the starboard side is the side you control the engine on, so it's more appropriate to have the autopilot here. I mentioned earlier we had 3 VHF smart mics, one here, one on the helm on the port side, and one down at the nav station. Of course, our bow thruster, I probably have that turned off, I do. This is the bow thruster control, and so you're moving the boat into the slip. You've got the shifter handy right here, the bow thruster here, and your autopilot here. Again, in complete control in a very tight little package. By the way, we've got this MFD set for engine, so when we start the engine, you'll see the engine temperature, oil pressure will all be reading, as well as the tack. It'll all be reading right here. And if we set up the fuel tank sensors, well, we don't have sensors on this boat with a fuel tank, so we won't be able to see what our fuel level is here. We have the fuel gauge here. This boat has an additional 18 gallon tank, and we have the fuel gauge for that tank over on the starboard side of the table. And now you notice there's a black starboard part right here in this tray. What we did there was the owner wanted his Steiner Commander binoculars to fit there where it wouldn't move around, and his spotlight. So we created that black starboard part so we could put those 2 items in the tray and they wouldn't move around. And then what we've done here, these are again the Catalina cockpit cushions, but the owner wanted this Yeti cooler, so when they're out sailing, they don't have to go down below for drinks. So here's the Yeti cooler. I just threw in 6 bottles of water, so when we do our orientation today, we'll be able to have our water right there ready for us.
I notice you're using the new latch system for the cushion, where you don't have to drill, you just screw it in.
Although it fits so tightly, we really don't even need to do that. And what we did here, we created, there's a poodle catcher on all the Catalinas, or what we kindly or finally refer to as a poodle catcher. And the poodle catcher stays right here, and then it stores underneath that panel. But when we wanted to put this Yeti cooler here, we created our own poodle catcher that let me just put this in place. We did our own poodle catcher, and with a hinge panel that sits down on a cleat so that you can actually stand on that. If this were out of the way and you're moving around the boat and you step back here, your foot won't go down to the step. It'll stop right there on a level surface, the same level as the cockpit sole. So we'll move this back into place. We think this is going to become a very popular option on 445s and on the 425. And then kind of finishing up the tour today, we went ahead and installed the Cato davit set, and we did some good guesstimates, I would say. It wasn't scientific, but we eyeballed it a lot. We wanted the tube of the dinghy to fit into the curvature of the lower unit of the outboard. We want to get the dinghy as high as we can get it so you can actually get in and out of the water easily with the dinghy in the up position. You don't have to lower the dinghy, and sometimes you have to do that. Then with these secured straps, the dinghy doesn't move from side to side much, and then we just tie a little bit here and a little bit over there, so the dinghy is very tight into the davit system, so it's not moving around a lot when you're out sailing. And of course we use the Cato crane, and we'll lower that down onto the dinghy once we put the dinghy in the water, and that works really well. A couple of us have kind of practiced this a little bit, and we're comfortable with how easy it is.
Yeah, I noticed this is a custom built cushion for over the Yeti cooler, and you also made a custom bag for to protect the propeller and the dinghy.
Well, yeah, what we wanted to do here is we wanted a padded lower unit cover so that the dinghy wouldn't chafe against this lower unit. And again, Lippincott did that work, did a beautiful job. The last thing I want to mention that I failed to mention as we were walking by it, part of what you want to do when you're cruising is you want to be able to trim the sail very, very well, the head sail, as well as the main. Well, as you're changing sail trim, sometimes you have to go onto the deck to move the Genoa car. So what we did was we bought the Garhauer Easy Glide Genoa car track adjuster so that you do everything from inside the cockpit here. You don't have to go out into the weather deck at all to adjust the car to trim the sails.
Very nice.
So basically, this is your command center right here. It's also your safety zone, lots of handhold, and you can really single hand the boat. Once away from the dock, it's easy to single hand this boat. So that concludes our tour of the Catalina 445, and we're going to start the owner orientation in about 30 minutes.
Well, Ed, thank you very much for the journey of the commissioning process. This has been a great learning experience in seeing the interaction with the owners. I know they've been very happy with the process. I'll see if I can catch them for a quote here in a second. But with that, folks, thank you so much for watching the series on the commissioning process for the Catalina 445. Thank you to Ed Massey, Massey Yacht Sales, that spent all this time working on the boat and making time to show us the progress on the boat. Not everybody does that, so we really appreciate you doing that for us. And if you are looking for a brand new Catalina, Massey Yacht Sales is the place to come. They'll provide you the service, and they'll make the experience of buying and owning a new Catalina memorable for you. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next series.
Thank you. We hope you have enjoyed these videos showing how we commission a new Catalina. Massey offers the yacht owners the opportunity to spec out many custom installations in addition to the various Catalina factory options. If you find these videos of value and would like to view additional Massey videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to contact me directly at 941-725-2350 or at edwardm@masseyyacht.com. And remember, Catalina yachts are uniquely American with a strong focus on performance, safety at sea, and enduring value. They are overbuilt and underpriced, and that's why Catalina yachts are the sailor's choice.